Yeah, I destroyed a $2,000 camera lens. This is like the most crushing feeling ever. Crushing this camera lens is like destroying this thing. It's the most crushing feeling. This is a 24 to 70 millimeter lens. It's the L series lens. So this was not cheap. This was not a walk into Best Buy and just get it lens. Although I imagine you probably can walk into Best Buy and buy it. It was so devastating breaking this lens. And okay, so here's what happened. So I was taking pictures of the bookshelf back there. And actually the little things on that bookshelf will show up in this video or in this video and future videos. But I was taking pictures of the bookshelf and because I was going to put them on Instagram and that kind of thing. And I had the camera mounted to the tripod. And without paying any attention, I undid the mount for the camera on the tripod and it just falls forward. And it's like in slow motion. It's just like, and I'm just like, no. And like it starts falling forward. And then it just bam, and just the lens just snaps off the front, and this was just still attached to the camera, and I was like, oh my god, I just destroyed a $2,000 lens. I was trying to piece it back together. I was like, no, no, baby, no, baby, we got this. I was trying to get this thing, it's like, no, but I was trying to get it back together, and ultimately, of course, it didn't work, which means that now I have to go buy a new one. Now, here's a funny thing. This is one of the philosophies that I live by when it comes to stuff. Over the years, and especially when I was younger, I used to get so pissed off so easily. Like I used to get so mad so easily. And one of the things I've learned over the years is this. There's no sense in crying over spilled milk. And I know it's cliche. I know it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, but I've always thought that ever since I saw the movie 7 Years in Tibet. For those of you guys who don't know about that movie, it's a movie starring Brad Pitt. And I want to say that he actually played a guy who climbed the Himalayas and eventually met the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama was talking to Brad Pitt's character. And they were talking about worrying about things. And the Dalai Lama said, it doesn't make any sense to worry about things. You know, it doesn't do any good. If you could fix something, you'd be fixing it instead of worrying about it. And if you couldn't fix it, then worrying wouldn't do any good. So don't worry about it. And the more I've thought about that, the more I apply that to all things. You know, I never really get too sad about things, never really get too angry about things. It's a way for me to keep myself happy because it's like, well, I mean, the sun will rise, the day will go on. Tomorrow will come and the lens will still be broken. So that's just the way it is. I mean, there's really no reason for me to get all torn up about it and to get all upset. And so yeah, so I guess now I need to buy a new 24 to 70 millimeter lens. Damn it. I can't believe I broke this thing. That bookshelf back there was custom built. That was built by a contractor named Doug, who actually, a carpenter named Doug, alongside Jeremy, who really, them and like a whole bunch of other people, Scott, who did all the flooring and all of the cabinetry work and all that kind of good stuff. We've basically finished remodeling the house. We have a couple knickknacks here and there. I'm not going to show you guys a video yet, not until the bathroom's done, because we're still waiting on glass for the steam shower. But that bookcase is like my favorite part of the house. I love that bookcase. There's so many cool little tidbits and things on it. I know that ideally you're not supposed to clutter your background when it comes to making these vlog style videos, but I don't care. I think it looks cool because each one of those things on that bookshelf means something to me. They all matter. Every single one of them have had some kind of a significant impact on my life, starting with this. This is A-Force. This is a variant cover. A-Force, for those of you guys who don't know, is really more of a modern take on the concept of Lady Liberators. Lady Liberators was basically an all-female Avengers team from way back in the day. I don't remember who it was that made it. We'll say we'll say Roy Thomas or Steve Englehart or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, the whole idea behind this was that there was an event called Secret Wars, and A-Force was just like the top female characters in Marvel at the time. So like Medusa, She-Hulk, so on and so forth. The reason why this has signatures on it, the reason why this is autographed, is not these are not the writers or the artists. These are fans. These are autographs. These are signatures from the very first meetup that myself and Comic Storian and Trailer Drake ever had in Dallas, or at least all three of us being in the same place at the same time. It was the first meetup I ever had, the first time I ever met any of my fans in real life. And it was incredibly exciting. It was amazing. Well, I'd met fans before in New York, but in terms of like having an actual gathering in a single place and saying, hey, come meet us here, it was so cool. And all these different fans have all autographed this. You know, there's Ivan, there's Frankie, there's Londine, I guess is how you pronounce his name. there's Lauren, she was nice. I mean, there's all these people who are here. You know, Ollie, he's a firefighter. All these people who are here. This is one of the most important things that I could ever own. Probably the single most valuable object that I have. Because what this does is it represents the fact that I, as a YouTuber, have touched people's lives. Whether it's because it got them caught up in comics, whatever the case may be, I have impacted people's lives. And that's an incredible experience. It's an incredible thing to be able to say. It's an incredible thing to be able to say, I impacted somebody's life in such a way that they drove some distance to see me. There was actually one person who drove like 3 hours to come hang out with us, to come see us. It was a pretty insane moment. It was pretty wild. And it was kind of funny because there were some fans who were lingering in the background, but they were really, really big fans and they were nervous and didn't know how to talk to me or talk to Benny or even talk to Drake. And it was so funny to see, because it was like, but why though? Like, we're approachable. Come talk to us. You know, we're cool people to talk to. At least we think we're cool. I think I'm cool. I think I'm a cool guy to talk to. But it's one of these funny things, because I've had fans tell me that I have kind of rekindled an interest in comic books, and they share it with their kids. And to me, that's one of the coolest things. You know, mothers and daughters, mothers and sons, sons and daughters, fathers and daughters, and fathers and sons, bringing members of the family together. You know, allowing them to kind of, you know, reminisce on comics that are long since gone, and allowing their son or daughter or somebody to begin getting into the realm of comics. That's cool. And I think that's one of the most important things when it comes to anything, when it comes to life in general, is being able to impact somebody's life for the better. There are a lot of people out there who impact other people's lives for the worse. They impact them in an exceedingly negative way. They only ever look at things from the downside. They only ever look at things from, you know, what are they losing? What are they not getting? You know, there's always a loss that's there that they're always focusing on. But the reality of things, I think, is that it's like the 6 degrees of separation. You know, you can always trace one person back to somebody else on the other side of the planet through 6 degrees of separation. And if people are really that intertwined, if we're that tight knit in terms of interactions and the ability to measure your impact on somebody else, then why not use that? You know, why not kind of extend that courtesy to other people, to be kind and different things like that? You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little preachy here, or a little, you know, mushy, but I think it's a very important thing, because I think that in this day and age, leaving out the politics of it all, in this day and age, looking at just like social media, looking at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, there's a kind of disconnect. Right? There's a kind of disconnect there, that you talk to somebody on the other side of the world and then you close your browser, and then you're back into yourself. It's just you in your apartment or your house or your workplace or something like that. But the face-to-face interaction isn't there. You know, I think so many people live in the digital space, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's also important to remember to get out there and to talk to people, because in my experience, there's nothing like a face-to-face conversation. There's nothing like talking to a person and learning what they're about. And it's interesting, because this is all about social skills, right? I mean, that's really all it is. And for a lot of people, there is legit anxiety. For a lot of people, there is legit anxiety. Like they really do begin to get super nervous. They begin to get freaked out. Their body starts to shake, things like that. For people who are in that camp, you know, you're probably better off, you know, seeking the help of a professional, or maybe a doctor who can prescribe a medication that can help you deal with that. But there are a lot of people out there, I think, who just never really seem to develop social skills, who never really seem to develop the ability to walk up to someone and just say hi. And it's interesting to me. I mean, I come to that from the perspective of an extrovert. I've always gone out there and talked to people. I've always gone out there and seen people. I always love striking up conversations. I'll be in a checkout line. I'll talk to someone. I'll be like, hey, what's going on? You know, or I'll talk to the cashier. How's your day coming along? And I can gauge based on their reaction on whether or not they feel like being talkative. If they're like, oh, yeah, it's all right. It's like, okay, well, I guess you don't really want to talk too much, you know. But if they're like, oh my God, you know, it's cool, but God, I really wish I wasn't here, and they start to just kind of talk, then it's like, okay, cool, they're being talkative. Now there comes a point, and I've had this happen before, especially at a 7-Eleven. There comes a point where the person just doesn't stop talking, and they just start divulging so much information, like, yeah, you won't believe what my kid did, and it's like, okay, but like, I don't care though. So like, I'm gonna go ahead and leave, and you do you. Like, that's kind of what it boils down to. I know it sounds a little harsh, but that's kind of what it boils down to. And for me, being able to get out there and talk to people is so cool, because you never know what you're going to hear, especially when it comes to the elderly. I had a great grandma. She died when she was like 101 or 102 years old or something along those lines. She died in the early 2000s, maybe like 2003, 2004, 2005, somewhere around there, before 2006. And it was so interesting, because I remember talking to my uncle. I don't really talk to my dad's side of the family anymore, but at the time I remember talking to my uncle, and he was just kind of sitting there, and he was like, man, imagine all the stuff you would see at 101 years old. She was born before the 1900s. She was a little girl when we hit the 20th century. So she lived throughout the entire 20th century. That means she saw the first car. I mean, it was horse and buggy when she was born. So she saw the transition of horse and buggy to vehicle. She saw the First World War, the Second World War. She saw the Civil Rights Movement. She saw the Korean War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. She saw she saw, women gaining the right to vote. She saw, she saw all these things, the entirety of the 20th century. The entirety of the 20th century, she saw it all. And imagine the stories you would hear from someone. Like, I would love to sit down and talk to someone who's been alive that long and just say, tell me your story. Tell me, give me your life story. I want to know what you've seen. I want to know the craziest things that you've come across. But I don't know. I mean, for me, it's an interesting situation. It's really, really cool. Just get out there and talk to people. I know for a lot of you guys, it's very, very nerve-wracking, and that's true. I mean, honestly, if you guys out there struggle with social skills, if you struggle with striking up a conversation, here is the #1 way to begin picking up conversations, to begin learning how to interact with people. Talk to moms. Oh my God, moms. Dude, moms, they can't shut the hell up. Moms love talking. Oh, dude, man, they'll talk. They'll talk your ear off. Oh man, like old women and moms. Oh geez, man, you can't make them stop talking. Like, just walk up to them, hey, how's your day going? Oh, it's going so good, and they'll just start talking, they'll start gib-gabbing, and you'll be able to work your way into a conversation, because when you're talking to like a mom, or you're talking to like an old woman, oh, you'd be lucky to get a word in edgewise. But literally, all you have to do is just say like 2 or 3 words. You can just say 2 or 3 words to kind of keep the conversation going and be like, really? Well, that's interesting. And those, oh yeah, and then just go on and on. And man, I really wish you'd settle down, find a nice man, and have kids. I mean, it's like all that stuff. Everybody out there will tell you. They'll tell you it's true. Moms and old women, they just keep talking and talking and talking. But that's a really, really, really good way to begin picking up conversation skills. Another really good example is to go to sit in the mall and watch how people interact. Body language is king. Body language puts off far more information than you could ever really imagine in terms of, what you're saying to people, how people will take what you say, all that kind of good stuff. Body language is where it's at. Body language really, really determines all those different things. So look at the body language they put off. Look at someone who doesn't really care about the person walking by them, and then look at someone who greets a friend, oh, hey, what's going on? Look at those different things. Those small, subtle, nuanced differences. Look at a couple that's arguing. Look at a couple that's having a disagreement, and notice the difference in body language. These are all the things that really go on to it. People watching is one of the best ways to learn the ins and outs, and even just the fine little tidbit points of how to strike up a conversation. But anyway, guys, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about that. Talk about social skills. Talk about building up the ability to talk to people. Again, it's fun. I love talking to people, because I think once you get past the point where, the non-medically diagnosed, that is to say, social anxiety that does not require medical treatment. Once you get to the point where you can sort of move past that and get into interacting with people, oh, the world changes. The world changes entirely. I mean, it opens your eyes up to a whole new part of the world that you didn't even know existed. Or I guess that you knew existed, but never had a chance to be a part of. But it'll change everything. I mean, I promise you, it'll be like a brand new day. I mean, you'll get up, you'll open the curtains, and oh my God, it's a brand new day. It'll be like Rafiki with little Simba on Pride Mountain, Pride Rock, and like the Lion King. It's a circle of life, and I can talk to people now. I mean, you'll be excited. You'll be so hyped. It'll be amazing. But anyway, guys, I want to go ahead and bring this video to an end. And yeah, by the way, I apologize if it's kind of echoey in here. This room's not really sound treated for voiceovers, but I do like the background, and I'm not going to sound treat this room. I do have a sound treated room downstairs for recording audio. It's got like foam panels and blackout curtains and the whole 9 yards. The problem is it's like this little tiny closet, and it would look weird sitting in there recording because it would just be a black backdrop. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bounce off here, and I will catch you all later. Peace.